Hey guys, so this is all about Pythagorean Theorem. So by the end of this video, you're going to know how to be able to find the missing side of a right triangle, specifically a right triangle. And then you're going to be able to classify a triangle if it's right, acute, or obtuse using the Pythagorean Theorem. So first thing we need to discuss is what the heck is the Pythagorean Theorem? Well, it was developed long ago by the Greeks, a guy named Pythagoras, and he came up with the relationships of sides of right triangles. And what he said was that the sum of the two legs of a right triangle squared equal the hypotenuse squared. Most people don't remember it like that. Most people remember it as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's how most people remember it. Now, the key is, these are just letters. Most people just remember the letters, but they don't know what they stand for. So, the most important thing is, it's in a right triangle. And that right angle is the key because it points to this opposite side. The opposite side from the right angle is what we call C. It is also known as the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the key. It's the longest side in a right triangle. The other two sides don't matter. This could be A, this could be B, or I could swap those. These are called the legs. And those are interchangeable. Those don't matter in the order. So really, the Pythagorean theorem says leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So we're going to do some examples of this. Well, let's look at this. Okay. Now, what I want you guys to get in the habit of, and it'll help you set it up for the first couple times, is draw that arrow. The arrow always points to the hypotenuse. So if I'm thinking a squared plus b squared equals c squared, well, I know the arrow points to the c. Okay, points to the hypotenuse. So that 13 is the hypotenuse. So it's going to be 13 squared. And then it doesn't matter what these other two things are. It only matters about 13. So I'm going to write a squared plus 12 squared. So now I square them both. You might remember squaring it as multiplying it by itself. So 12 times 12. There's also a button on your calculator. That's the x caret 2. And you can square. A squared plus 144 equals 13 squared, 169. Well, now I can subtract 144, and I get a squared equals 25. Well, that's not the side. That's not a. That's not the side. That's actually that side squared, or that side times itself. You might recognize, all right, one number times itself is 25. You might figure out, okay, a is going to be 5, because you know your multiplication tables. But to do this on a calculator, sometimes the numbers don't come out nice. You have to know how to do the square root. The square root is that funny division sign with the hook. Okay? Most often it's above. If you find the button on the calculator, that's the squared button. It looks like x squared. Above it is this little symbol. Okay, it's the square root button. So you have to hit the second button on the calculator and then hit this. The symbol will pop up, the square root will pop up, and then you hit the 25, and it'll give you the answer of 5. Now, the second equation, the second problem is, so this side, I had the hypotenuse, but I wanted to find one of the legs. Here, I'm looking for the hypotenuse, and I have the two legs. So I would set this up. 20 squared plus 30 squared equals c squared. Well, 20 squared is 400, plus 30 squared is 900, equals c squared. Since they're on the same side of that equal sign, I'm just going to add those together. And now I'm going to take the square root. Now this doesn't come out to be a nice number. Okay? This comes out to be 36.055 blah blah blah. Well, in math we care about what decimal place we want. We want the 100th place. The 100th place is that second decimal place. 100th, if you think of the 100, okay, there's 2 zeros, which means the 100th is the second spot. And to round to that second spot, we look at the third spot. Okay, that's a 5. So that tells me that I'm going to round up. So really, my answer is 36.06. And that equals my C, my hypotenuse. And you can tell that it's my C, my hypotenuse, because it's bigger than the other two angles. Okay? So, the next problems are practice problems. Remember to draw the arrow. It always points to the hypotenuse, and it helps you set things up. The problem comes when we hit these word problems. And every kid that I know loves word problems. Well, the trick with any of these is to draw a picture. In this case, the picture is already drawn. So, the bottom of an end of a ramp, okay, is 10 feet from the base of the main dock. So 10 feet on the base means it's on the ground. And the ramp is 11 feet long. We're looking for the height. So really, it's just a big right triangle, x, 10, and 11. And now we're going to solve it this way. So again, that arrow points to the hypotenuse. So I'm going to set it up as 10 squared, plus, or x squared plus 10 squared equals 11 squared. 10 squared is 100, and 11 squared is 121. I subtract 100. X squared is 21. So then to find what x is, I have to take the square root of 21. That ends up being that decimal again, okay? And it turns out to be 4.582. So that third is a 2, so I'm going to keep just the 8. That's going to tell me around feet, because all the other labels have feet. So we always want to draw a triangle or a picture for this. In this case, we're talking about baseball. And you might not know about baseball. Baseball deals on a diamond, okay? It looks like a big square. And that's not a really good picture, but that's a relative diagram. It's just a diagram to help you map out your thoughts. So, and it says the distances between each base is 90 feet. So, the catcher at home plate throws the ball to second base. Well, you guys need to know where home plate and second base are. Home plate happens to be down here. I can put it anywhere. And he throws the ball to second base, which is over here. So you're asked to, how far did he throw the ball? So this purple line here, that's my x. Here's my right angle. Again, if I forget about this side, this is just a slanted right triangle right here. So I can set it up. 90 squared plus 90 squared equals x squared. And I get 8,100 plus 8,100 equals x squared. So 16,200 equals x squared. So x is going to be the square root of 16,200. Or, again, the second square root, 16,200. And I get 127.28 feet. So that's how far the ball travels. And that's how you do the next couple word problems. Again, all you're doing is trying to find a right triangle somewhere. Okay? So you just want to either draw a rectangle, and we're talking about the diagonal distance, or a pole that has a wire attached, and you can draw that picture and label it appropriately. Another application of Pythagorean theorem is I can tell if it's a right triangle or not. So if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, so if it equals it, we already know that it's a right triangle, because that's the only thing. Okay? But if a squared plus b squared, if the two legs squared are greater than the third side squared, it's an acute triangle. If it's the opposite, it's an obtuse triangle. So if c squared is bigger than a squared plus b squared, it's an obtuse triangle. So let's go through some examples here. Okay? I would set it up. 30 squared plus 40 squared, okay, equals 50 squared. Well, 30 squared, 900, plus 1600 equals 2500. Well, 900 plus 1600, that is 2500. So that is equal. So these three side lengths form a right triangle. While in this case, if I look at it, if I do 20 squared plus 30 squared, and then I got the 40 squared over here, okay? I have 400 plus 900, and this is 1600. 400 plus 900 is 1300, and 1600. Oh, 1300 is actually less than 1600. So I go here. That means that it's an obtuse triangle. So I can set up these things and I can say, all right, I can, as long as I do the first two, the A's and the B's, and I figure out the relationship, I can figure out if it's a right, acute, or obtuse triangle. So I would do the same thing for 3. Okay. What I wanted to talk about was 4, and show you the acute triangle. So I would do 6 squared plus 8 squared and 9 squared. Well, 6 squared is 36 plus 64, and 9 squared is 81. Well, 36 plus 64, that's 100, and 9 squared is 81. Well, that 100 is bigger than 81. That means that that's an acute triangle. So the next problems are your practice problems. Again, it's always using a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So, please complete those for the next class. Okay, check the video often and pause it when you need to review the notes. And if you have any questions, make sure you write them down on your notes so you can ask them next class. That's the biggest thing. Thank you for your attention.